Prosecutors have been caught doing racial discrimination when using lyrics in a whole range of cases. So think about this. White artists have not been confronted in court with their own violent lyrics.
I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.
YSL, hey, kill it 12. Hey. I shot the sheriff. I never killed anybody, but I got something to do with that body.
This is in the news tonight as a coalition of artists are rallying for free speech and creative expression rights. Pop stars like Travis Scott and other hip-hop artists filing with the Supreme Court to argue that the lyric evidence shouldn't be admissible any more than a fictional movie should be used in a case against an actor. As of now, with no court intervention, the case I mentioned, that of defendant and convict Broadnax, he's scheduled to be executed later this month. We are joined by a special guest. Returning to the beat is Kevin Liles. He is a longtime music and hip-hop executive, founder and CEO of 300 Entertainment. And on this issue, he has been at the forefront of the work to protect artists' rights and free expression. We've talked about this case in the past. He does the nonprofit Free Our Art, and most recently was working with the Maryland Parliament to support a law that was passed on this very issue. He's also signed that brief I mentioned to the Supreme Court.
Well, the first thing I want to say, I'm glad that the trend started in L.A., in California, and then it went to Louisiana, and now Maryland has passed the PACE Act. When you talk about the Broadnax case, the funny thing, lyrics were not used at all to get him convicted. It was used to get him the death penalty.
To go to that level, yeah.
That level. So now a kid that's been in jail since 19 years old who did not commit the crime is facing the death penalty. When you see the misuse and the weaponization of lyrics like this, we have to speak up.
If you printed out a script of a movie or lyrics of many of these songs and you went to the library or the bookstore, they'd put them in the fiction section. Right. They wouldn't put them in the nonfiction section. I mean, it's pretty fundamental. Now, many artists talk about how they are referring to things they've been through or their artistic license. But at a baseline level, before you get race and rap involved, nobody thinks this would go in the nonfiction section to begin with.
Our good friend Rick Ross said, I know Pablo Noriega, the real Noriega.
The real Noriega. He owed me 100 favors.
Owed me 100 favors. The problem is Rick was 13 and Pablo was in jail.
Right. How much work have you done for him?
Right. So, these things, and again, I just want, if it was etched on the Supreme Court building, freedom under law, you know what I mean, and freedom of speech and these things. And I'm going to fight every day for creators to actually be free and not feel that their lyrics will be used against them, their artistry will be used against them.
We've seen a lot of artists speak out about this. I would just want to play some of that.
Okay.
Would you do that in Hollywood? Would you do that to a video game creator? Would you do that to an actor? Would you do it to any other artist? You wouldn't even do it to another music genre. So how is that cool for hip-hop?
You shouldn't be able to hold someone's song against them. You got to have real evidence that they did something.
It's no difference than a Martin Scorsese, a big-time director that writes gangster movies. We would never, the same prosecutor would hold the door open for Martin Scorsese.
Your work has helped elevate hip-hop, right, when you look at it at the Super Bowl or the Obama era. And yet these cases are often old, or they've winded their way through the courts. What do you feel as someone who's really built part of this culture? That on the one hand, there's been these breakthroughs, and yet on the other hand, the double standard is still holding down artists and using racist metrics in court?
Well, the real issue is and there's been studies about this, since the 1950s, no other genre of music has ever been put on trial like we have.